Hey, it's been a while since I last seen you. Got a haircut by the looks of it. I'll work on it. Oh, me? Oh, you know, I'm as good as ever. Ready as I'll ever be. So, something tells me you want to take on the world again. I got that right? Yeah. Don't worry. I know the feeling, kid. You're armed, you're ready, you're dangerous. So come on, kid. One more time. Let's you and me make history.
Nintendo's gambit to recreate their digital boxing series on the NES had paid off. Through a combination of technical wizardry to get such hulking sprites to function, the challenge of a lifetime for especially the American audience through the invitation to get in the ring with Mike Tyson, and intense gameplay where a split-second dodge would determine glory or defeat, Punch-Out would remain a cornerstone of Nintendo's brand and image, at least in the Western market, and was a bona fide success story. But time moved on from Little Mac's ascent to the top. Nintendo's contract with Tyson expired, and future controversies and incarcerations from Kid Dynamite presumably kept the company from pursuing a follow-up with him.
You know, he could kill you. He could kill all of us. I think sometimes we forget that that's Mike Tyson.
But moreover, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out simply wasn't supposed to be as good of a game as it ended up being. Many concessions had to be taken from the monstrous, mobile, size-warping boxers from the arcade classic, leaving the WVBA's finest as hulking of monstrosities as they could be on the NES, but relatively static in movement. This, of course, created an incredible new system of intimidation and pattern recognition that would be praised for decades. But Nintendo had never recaptured that action boxing feel of their original arcade cabs. And as time left the kid who felled the baddest man on the planet as a cherished memory, a new injection of superpower allowed for a new generation to discover what had been lost before. And this new jolt wouldn't be intimidating, no. It would be empowering. Super Punch-Out came in swinging compared to its NES predecessor. Opponents could back off, dodge, weave, and tower over Little Mac in ways not possible on the older hardware. Fights took place all over the ring, foes dancing from side to side or getting launched into the corner with a well-timed power hit. Little Mac didn't look like a sassy lost child trying to beat up mountains of muscle anymore, with a decent amount of height and a semi-translucent body to see who you had to beat up through. There were character voices and ring announcements done by Charles Martinet, one of his first gigs for Nintendo after his obscure debut for their most beloved character, Predator Donkey Kong.
I was just gonna whisper sweet nothings in her ear like this, Bruce. Donkey Kong Country, baby. Uniracers, baby. Stunt Race FX, baby. Are you getting hot yet? Tetris 2. Oh, sweet nothings. Super Punch-Out. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
And while patterns, instant knockdown chances, and signature moves obviously still existed, Super promised to be a whole different game from Tyson. Mac wasn't sitting around waiting for the exact right moment to strike. You would be given exactly one 3-minute round to knock out your opponent, or they would score a technical victory.
Time up!
Dodging his punch, then counterpunching wasn't the key to victory. It was a simple technical tool as a whole new era of ruthless aggression swept the Punch-Out world. No game in this series is quite as active or quite as action-packed as Super is. And while you've got a good head on your shoulders, I'm noticing that your opponents all seem to have quartermen, but yours is noticeably absent.
Where am I?
But don't worry, we can take you the distance again. We're going 16 rounds, taking on every single challenger the WVBA has to toss at you, breaking them down one by one until you shine brighter than the belt around your waist. You see through these suckers' intimidation, so the onus is on you to keep up with your fellow sportsmen and usher in this new, unparalleled generation of momentum. Let's keep it clean.
Gabby Jay! Yay!
This is Gabby Jay, and he has a dream. For decades, he served as the waiter at a small cafe next to the Eiffel Tower. But years of complacency eventually stirred something deeper inside of him, causing his psyche to snap and pursue a career in professional boxing. He enrolled in the finest boxing institution France had to offer, the Glass Joe Boxing School, and earned his first win by defeating the school's namesake in a fight. With Glass Joe well and truly beaten, Jay would go on to prove himself as the greatest French boxer with a 5-letter name and 3-letter last name with the initials GJ, who uses a taunt punch and weighs exactly 110 pounds the world has ever seen. And in this role, Jay sucks. Look, I don't mean to be too harsh on the guy, but he's 56 years old with a 1-99 record, living out the tail end of a midlife crisis that went on way too long. I've stated before that it's likely a lot of starting players will lose to Glass Joe in Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, and I stand by that assessment. The combination of Joe's alternating defenses and Mac's limited 20 points of stamina means that treating Punch-Out like a typical brawler is going to get you gassed quickly, and makes Joe's incredibly slow punches have weird timing that you actually have to learn timing windows for. Glass Joe effectively demonstrates exactly what his game is about and the minimum requirements a new player needs to get good at it. And then you go on to humiliate the guy forevermore.
Oh, shit.
Gabby Jay does not have this. There is no stamina limitation in Super Punch-Out. You're on a strict time limit to knock these suckers out. You don't have time to be tired. And his guard is so bad that, honestly, you can just mash and you'll probably beat him. Even Gabby Jay's Quarterman, a new addition to Super Punch-Out who calls for the strongest moves their boxers can toss out, pleads with him to catch his breath and not burn out instantly, a move that has the potential to heal him, countered by simply throwing out punches and making sure that he can't. In every way, Glass Joe succeeded as a pathetic opponent you'd feel humiliated to lose to. Gabby Jay has failed, utterly inept at everything other than eating hits. But when you beat him, something interesting pops up. A high score table of how fast folks have beaten him before. And while you beat Jay pretty handily, and seriously, Wario 2 minutes to clear this? Don's time downing the geezer in 26 seconds is a bit hard to beat just flailing around aimlessly. And this is Gabby Jay's value to the game of Punch-Out. A perfect introduction to speedy, score attack style clears. While you can simply mash Jay to death, he did pick up how to alternate his guard from Glass Joe, letting the player experiment with their punches, potentially learning that each of Mac's 4 punches have slightly different timing and strength. Getting deep into this lets the player experiment with the power meter, each successful hit landed building up this gauge until it's fully charged. And when you land that super punch, you don't cash anything out. Opportune star punches at exactly the right time are a thing of the past, Mac remaining in a super-powered state to slug it out as long as he remains untouched, stacking absolutely devastating blow after blow in every single opening he creates. Keep at it long enough, and you might even find a secret dizzy animation. Something that only triggers if you absolutely floor your opponent right out of the gate, and leads to an instant knockdown if you take advantage of it.
Got him.
And, of course, hitting Jay right in the gut during his signature taunt punch will bring him down just like how his teacher was toppled 7 years ago. Jay may be a total wimp in actually intimidating Mac, but for teaching the compounding momentum that Super Punch-Out can offer when you're really dominating it, he is a masterclass in figuring out how to most effectively dismantle another man in seconds flat. Carry that sense of victory with you. He's long forgotten what it feels like, and you'll need it for the long road ahead. Oh, that's a big boy! Lumbering in from the Canadian wilderness where he fights animals for fun, Bear Hugger is a massive leap forward in stature compared to the withering waiter you just beat up. The first opponent from the arcade Super Punch-Out, Hugger's glad to leave as large of an impression as possible with his one simple trick: being too fat to feel pain. Any punches to Bear Hugger's stomach will deal no damage, the Saskatoon slugger mocking you for even trying, and eating up 2 precious seconds just to taunt you every time you bludgeon his belly. This gives him a theoretically perfect defense, being able to guard his upper half with his gloves while his gut remains an immovable object. Hugger's only moments of vulnerability are when he acts. Swiping at his belly during a taunt actually will stun the guy for an easy combo, and his jab and hook are relatively well telegraphed and easy to avoid. Past his simple gimmick, there really isn't much to Bear Hugger as you slowly chop him down and send him packing. Timber! But when you beat Super Punch-Out, this fella's in such a good mood, he'll go, "Oh, I heard you can beat me in 17 seconds if you're real good." Which, while maybe the weirdest flex I've ever heard, taking Canadian hospitality to a whole new level there, bud, poser, does work as good as any lure to get players hooked on taking him down. In order to truly best the bear, you've got to use your jab like an actual jab. Your weakest and quickest punch being used to keep up pressure and goad your opponent into facing your tempo. Hugger loves following up an actual threat to his face with his bear clap, a move that used to be an instant KO in his first appearance, now proving to be strong, but hardly a death sentence. Naturally, an attack that comes from both sides can't be dodged to the left or right, but if you duck it, you're left with a whole bounty of punches to tear into the bear with, by far the longest stun period Hugger can offer. Mastering this bait is the key to hitting that elusive 17-second time, as if you duck the clap just as tightly as possible, you can sneak in an extra 5th punch and make the guy taunt more often afterward, leading to the fastest route to dizzy this piece of male perfection.
She scores!
Bear Hugger is, quite honestly, probably a much better tutorial fight than Gabby Jay when it comes to Super's unique mechanics, necessitating ducking, differentiating your punches, and figuring out how to command the pace of a match to keep your fists flying. Leave the gentle giant in the corner where he belongs, and march on to what will hopefully be a little more of a struggle.
Piston Hurricane!
Dusting off his gloves from the original Punch-Out after lending out his name to Honda for a brief stint, Piston Hurricane blows back into town to fight because his home was destroyed by a hurricane and he wandered the streets of Havana until becoming a boxer and named himself after what made him homeless. Piston, we're a 17-year-old from the Bronx. We're not emotionally equipped for that. Hurricane's got the same signature skills you might be familiar with from Honda. the ability to actually dodge with any level of confidence, faster fists than what came before, and his signature rush, launching a flurry of blows at you with precious little time to dodge. Seems like a rougher customer than the pair of midlife crises you punched out before. Someone to maybe keep you off your rhythm. However, there's one specific philosophy that Hurricane wants to teach, and if you master it, this whole match is gonna be a breeze. What goes up must come down. Specifically, there are 2 states your glove can be in during a punch-out match. Pressing no buttons keeps them guarding your gut, and holding up protects your face. This is true for both your guard and your attacks, and all of your opponents operate in the same way, Canadian roadblocks notwithstanding, letting you sneak in a few quick punches if you manage to take a swipe opposite of your opponent's guard. However, your adversaries are also checking out your gloves, adjusting their guard to match. And Hurricane is an especially slow learner at this. If you manipulate his guard down, his face is easy pickings for a flurry of jabs, almost as many as if you managed to stun him. This leads to building up your power meter insanely quickly. And if you've been taking headshots non-stop, Hurricane is eventually gonna leave his body wide open for a super hook to blow him away. His devastating Hurricane rush, exact same principle. Piston always starts with a high shot followed by a low blow, alternating as long as he manages to get a hit in. While this is dodgeable with proper timing, it's much easier to simply alternate your guard up and down. You don't have a stamina penalty in this game, so go wild! After 6 block shots, he'll realize how behind the curve he is and go for an uppercut, which is super telegraphed even if you didn't know it was coming. While Piston may have actual boxing fundamentals down, and can actually dodge some of your attacks when his quarterman asks to show off some fancy footwork, his actual offense is just too slow and his ring psychology way too weak to keep up with you. Stay on the offensive, outwit this airhead, and claim a quick victory as you aim to take down the minor league champion. Each of the minor, major, and world circuit titles is being held by a returning boxer from the NES Punch-Out. The only stalwarts from that game making their way into the sequel, and the entirety of the game's box art incidentally, move over new stars! Returning to the ring to make your life absolutely miserable is Bald Bull, the most recurring character in the Punch-Out franchise. Bull slowed down a bit since his time on the NES, losing his signature rolling jabs in favor of some more telegraphed punches, but is by far the most challenging fight the minor leagues have to offer. Bull is all about messing with your sense of momentum, wildly flailing about, ducking and juking before releasing a flurry of blows, or crouching down to bait out a dodge before going in for an uppercut. He's got a tight guard that will easily deflect most of your punches thrown out carelessly, and of course, he's got his signature bull charge primed and ready. Not only is this still an instant knockdown no matter how much stamina Max got left in the tank, but this mad bull has 2 different timings to his charge to send you to the mat. And look, to this point, as long as you understand the basic lessons of learn where to hit, learn how to duck, and learn what your 2 guard states are, you can beat those last 3 guys through mashing and attrition. But this is a straight up bullfight. The Turkish tanker refuses to be KO'd early, insisting that you bring him to the mat 3 times no matter how hard you hit him. And he's glad to spam his signature technique the closer to defeat he gets, ready to close up rounds in an instant. Bald Bull is a wall for new players. If you give the veteran respect, that is. Bald Bull wants you to take this fight at his pace, but the more you're willing to interrupt it, the more Bull is forced to play at your own. The only one of Bull's moves that can't be reacted to immediately is his jab combo after shuffling his torso around, which can be easily blocked by holding up the moment he starts his shuffle. Most of Bull's moves are so slow that they can be interrupted with one of your own punches, with Bull especially being vulnerable to right hooks. Even if he blocks it, age has definitely caught up with him, and he's not going to be able to get out an attack of his own before you jam him with another one.
Welcome to the real world! Time to learn! You gonna learn today!
His only real solution to an all-out assault is the Bull Charge. And while that's fearsome, if you end up dodging the move enough, Bull will lose confidence in his finisher and never bring it out again. But it's hardly sportsmanlike to crush a man's spirit passively. Why not shatter his body along with his confidence? The Bull Charge does have 2 different timings to trip you up, but Bald Bull also telegraphs which variant he's going to use through the number of hops he takes getting into position. Count along with him and throw a hook right into his gut 1 count early, and he's gonna be the one eating the mat from an instant knockdown instead. There's no need for this old bull to slow you down. Crush his dreams of ever tasting the gold again as you claim your own, becoming the champion of the minor league.
Pizza cake!
Super Punch-Out's first circuit is a bit more lax than Tyson's, but should give you a good understanding of the road ahead. From the majors on, you aren't going to be coasting around opponents there to teach you mechanics. These are real killers, using every technique at their disposal to take you out. Get your times on the first 4 down low, make sure you've cleared the circuit without any losses before moving on, and get ready as we punch our ticket through the major circuit.